unscripted, yeah. I said we're unscripted, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you're going to put in the
And
unscripted.
now it's
Maybe we'll do it later. But
reload.
hey, you want to talk about the massive spoiler that just happened, like, what, less than 30 minutes ago?
Will it be by the time everybody's listening?
Yes,
It won't be a spoiler.
I told you.
Yeah.
It's unscripted.
Tiffy time.
Yeah.
It is now officially Tiffy time. She is your new women's world champion. Cashed in on Nia apparently after, and I haven't seen it because it's not my time on the West Coast. Cashed in on Nia after I guess Bianca kind of knocked her out. So there should be some good beef between Nia and Tiffany Stratton in the upcoming weeks, which will be great for the story. They've been building that up for months, where she almost cashed in on her so many times, or tried to cash in on both champions when they're in the ring. I've loved every second of that, and we knew Tiffy was going to be a champion. There was no way she was not going to cash in and win. And I think she's going to hold it for a long time. I don't think it's going to be transitioned back. I think Nia was purely transitional for this moment, and they've been planning on doing stuff with Tiffany Stratton for a really long time. So
They probably shouldn't, but I guess they will burn it for the first SmackDown of the Netflix era, right? You'll probably see Nia and Tiffy
on Raw, you mean, or
next Friday. No, isn't SmackDown going on?
No, SmackDown's going to USA, so it'll be their first USA, right?
It's been on USA. No, it's been on USA.
Oh, it's been on USA. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just going to 3 hours then.
I think so.
Yeah.
Is it next week? I think it is eventually going to 3 hours.
Yeah, well, and then Netflix will be as well for Raw, be 3 hours.
This is confusing. I need someone to get me. I went to Peacock today to see an episode we were assigned, and it had been taken off, and then I went on Netflix and couldn't find it, and but you had to click through to then look at the episodes and seasons.
Yes, yeah.
Every single one of these streaming fucking platforms has a new.
It is. It's like, people I do miss the WWE Network, but I think we also think about, because that's all that was on there though. So when you logged on to the WWE Network, that's all you were going to find was WWE shit that they own. Now that these other streaming platforms are getting it, you got to fight past their shit, or at least when you go to Peacock on the left, it'll have a WWE symbol and you can click on that and then access the library. But even then, they decided to separate shits with season 14, episode 3. It's why, God? Why?
They couldn't do years. They had to do seasons.
Yeah. And Netflix will be the Netflix. I think Netflix will eventually have a menu on the side. They have to, because it's such a big investment with WWE. They have to have a separate logo that you can click on to go. They better because you're right, Craig. When I went on there, it had a coming this Monday. It's the Raw, and it has Cody ripping through it or whatever, and Roman ripping through it. And then when you click on that, it just says set reminder. And I was like, oh. And then I was reading to some people that, hey, if you're looking for Raw content, because Raw is moving, Raw is being removed. Everything from Raw is being removed from Peacock over to Netflix, which further pushes my narrative that when the 5 years is up with Peacock, they are going to bid for the WWE library. WWE will make more money because if they stay with Peacock or bring everything over to Netflix, it's going to be for a fat chunk of change, even bigger than just bringing Raw over there. So I didn't know part of the deal. Maybe the dorks that read, and that's all they do is read wrestling dirt news or whatever all day. I didn't know that the Raw library was going over to Netflix. I had no idea. So before you texted Craig a couple days ago, I did the same thing. I was like, well, what the fuck? And I could not find Raw. And I was getting so pissed off. And I was like, God damn it. I was like, get on the phone and just look and see if it went. And then
I think I told you guys that all the Raws were loaded along with a best.
God damn it. So I had to go to Netflix to find it. And I find that interesting that they're going to do that to us for the next however many years until the Peacock contract runs out.
But if you think about it though, it just kind of makes sense. If you're going to have Raws and then have them stay on Netflix after they've been recorded,
you should have the whole library of Raw.
The whole library should be together. I think that makes more sense when you think about it in that fashion. I don't want my Raw split up to find out which platform. That's hard enough because every wrestling platform at this point or has a different platform.
And so if SmackDown stays with USA, eventually will only SmackDown history be on Peacock and then everything will go over to Netflix? Who knows? Who knows how it's all going to go? I would think that they wouldn't want to split up their own library, but if they're getting billions with the B on contracts, they're.
But the smartest thing about that, I don't know exactly how it works, but I'm assuming that Raw and SmackDown are two separate sub entities of companies, right? So you can sell those pieces off. You sell them for different TV deals because they're different.
Well, just like NXT. NXT now is its own
different product.
It's a third brand. It's a different product,
right? So it's so when you think it's so different from having it on a different cable network. It's just that also it's where the streaming past stuff is going to be housed too. But So it kind of makes sense, but it's different from what we're used to.
And if it's that easy to kind of flip the switch, like back in the day of the network, they had to digitize everything, and it took months to begin to kind of trickle in and get it right. And now, like on one day, just went dark here, showed up.
Yeah, they had everything but the previous week loaded on that for like the last 5 years.
And yeah, they had 6 months or 8 months or a year for the deal when it was announced, but still, it's a lot of work to actually code that stuff.
And they just
get
it loaded.
So I was watching just a fan podcast like us, or whatever, and they had a really funny take on it. It's like, it's funny how everyone talks about the progression of business that WWE's done. Yeah, when you look at that, you're going to be like, wow, imagine all the trouble that it took. He was talking about that stuff, Craig, about how they had to code it from video to digital and then put it on the network for the first time it had ever been on network. They're like, God, the man hours must have been put in. The crew they had to hire to do that probably was painstaking. But we talk about it like, man, and WWE made their money back a billionfold because now that when they sold it to Peacock, forget the money they made on the network, but those workers that Vince probably made do it for the same pay that they were doing it for originally. He didn't give them a bonus. He didn't give them any extra money.
No.
They will never make extra money. So the company, you talk about a company like, well, they made their money a billion times over. I'm like, yeah, but the individual workers that had to lift it from, put it on that digital platform and then put it out there in the ether for the network to live, they never got extra money. I thought
the joke that you were going to say, Jess, was he just made Bruce do all of it.
Probably did.
Bruce,
for
do
free.
all of it.
For free. So it's like, we always talk about a company. It's like, we got to forget, the company in the sense, yes, has made, it's like we were talking about Vince buying WCW's library, and just with the death of WCW DVD, he made the money back that he used to fucking buy. Yeah. So, but it's like, the people that fucking busted their ass to have to get all that stuff and transfer it to DVD and cut it or whatever, they didn't get any fucking extra money.
No, it's just like the XFL. Everyone worked on the XFL.
Yeah, Jim Ross didn't get extra money. He's like, I was calling those games on my same salary. I didn't get a raise. He's like, we just did it, and I was
That's
like,
crazy.
You're a better man than me.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
He was like, Bruce, get over here and help us with this. Yeah, they were making them mold work double time because he didn't like the way things were going in the XFL, and he wanted to do it his way. And then he brings Bruce over there to do all these vignettes with these cheerleaders. It's like, what is going on? And he was literally, and then they have to go back and write for two wrestling shows after that, and they weren't getting paid any more money to do it.
I know there's more matches because I saw the graphics or whatever. But this Monday, Raw will launch its first ever Netflix Monday Night Raw live. We kind of talked about it. Well, no, we've been gone for 2 weeks, so we said goodbye to an era. Except for that 4 or 5 year stint where they were on TNN or Spike TV. They've been on the USA Network since January the 11th, 1993. And they just went off last week, December the 30th, was the last Raw. So it's crazy to me, to kind of say goodbye to that era. And even that brief period on TNN or whatever, it was still on a cable network. It's still going to be on Monday nights. Don't get me wrong. It's not leaving Monday nights, but it feels like it's leaving. And even though it's leaving networks, it's never been on a streaming only platform before, which, can we just say they're almost networks now? What's the difference? Once they start streaming, live stuff with commercials and all that, I'm like, it's basically a network at that point.
I personally cannot be more excited just because, the PLEs, I've been watching live forever, but I haven't watched Raw live in years because I refuse to pay for cable. I've talked about this so many times, and I know it's beaten a dead horse, but I'm able to watch Raw live for the first time in probably over 5 years. Because it's on a streaming platform, it'll be on Netflix, which I've always purchased because I like the content. This just made my Netflix purchase even more valuable to me with less, same amount of money I'm already spending. I'm really excited for it. On top of that, I already pay for Max, if we can delve into that too. And I watched Dynamite for the first time live, I think, ever. Which was so good. And I enjoyed it. I knew I was going to enjoy it, but I just refused to pay for something additional. And I saw Swerve almost die again. By, like you said, the IRS Ricochet, which was kind of funny with the pair of scissors. The accountant Ricochet.
He's the evil accountant. He just, when he came in the crowd and he came behind Swerve or whatever, he's all with his big glasses. He was like, "Did you do your taxes?" Started stabbing. But it was awesome. It was fun. Listen, when you look at the lineup, I'll talk about the Monday lineup for the first ever.
Right.
These are the three top matches. Tribal Combat. Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for the necklace.
Beads, baby.
For the beads, all that. For the Women's World Championship, Liv Morgan defends against Rhea Ripley. CM Punk takes on Seth Rollins. Like, it's goddamn WrestleMania, like next Monday, basically is what they're going
Right.
to do. Now, they don't have to
Right.
end them all with clean endings or whatever. It's all about storylines and story driven. But it's like, damn,
Cody and Kevin, or no? Am I off on that?
Cody and Kevin, yes. Well,
That's SmackDown. That's SmackDown.
It's either SmackDown or the next Saturday night's main event, which will also be in January.
Right.
So I don't remember.
That's right. So that's where it's on. It's on SN. It's S&E.
Yeah, so they're cooking it. Yeah, and they're going to have a special SmackDown because, like, even though it's Raw's celebration or whatever, they're going to have a big SmackDown next Friday as well.
This
so it's
is
like,
wonderful.
Well, it's wonderful, but, like, they have the power to do it. Well, a lot of people were, like, trying to compare, like, AEW's debut. First of all, it wasn't AEW's debut anywhere. They're still available on TBS and TNT, like they were before. It's just if you don't get TBS
how
and
did
TNT,
they broker
but you
that
get
deal?
Max.
By the way, I know they're all kind of in cahoots. They're all the same company, right? Craig, essentially.
Yeah, Warner Brother owns all of them.
But that's fantastic. That if you have cable, you can get it. If you have Max, you can get it. Like all those options, like that's great for AEW, man. Like so they don't lose
and
their
they haven't done.
this.
I was a little disappointed on New Year's Day. Like I thought they would just, we've been waiting for this forever. And what Tony Khan has been flirting with telling everybody this deal for the last year. It's good something. We got something. And he wouldn't tell anyone. Then he finally tells it and he barely talks about it. And then like I feel they should be shouting it from the mountaintops. And I felt like I'm just being selfish. Like when you're fighting from the bottom like they are, like, and that Raw and WWE has this, endless barrel of money and resources or whatever. Like, I'm not saying blow your wad. I'm glad this was a normal Dynamite on a Wednesday. There was nothing special. It was solid wrestling. They advanced storylines.
You could have mentioned it over and over that was going to be there. Yeah.
I didn't want them to have a bunch of debuts or whatever because I'm like, God, why don't try to do it? But my big thing, I was disappointed when I went on Max. They only have 2019 pay-per-views, which was 5 of them because they've never done one pay-per-view a month. So they have the 2019 pay-per-views, which is 5 pay-per-views up, and then they have 3 months of Dynamite from 2019 and the last 3 months of 2024, and that's it. And I'm like, can you guys like do anything right? Like on New Year's Day, you should have launched everything. You guys should have been ready to fucking go to where I turned on Max. All the Dynamites are there. All the pay-per-views are there. Let's go. Let's go.
It's pure difference of organization and promotion. I mean, how many times do you think you were told that Raw was going to Netflix in the last, 3 months? It was every commercial break. It was every time. It was mentioned by every announcer. It was mentioned by almost every wrestler in a promo it was like, dude, hammer that we're going to Netflix.
Yeah.
And then you would see it. You would see it on the bannership of the ring. Raw to Netflix, January 6th. Yeah. I mean, it was just hammered home. I was like, it's just such a big difference between the two companies of organization and promotion of your product. And it does drive you crazy a little bit. I totally get it. And I was going to tell you, as an example, Jess, I didn't get to see all of Dynamite because I didn't know it was going to be on either. I was literally just going to put on some Rick and Morty reruns, and it popped up as soon as.
Oh, so you missed Lashley. It was right there. Lashley wrestled.
And I saw some of that. I saw some of the highlights on Lashley. He looks great as usual. But I literally tuned into the Swerve trio match. That's what I started, and I saw Ricochet fucking pummel him with the scissors.
You all missed. Actually, there was one thing that was brand new, and that was the theme song. Was the Pointer Sisters. I'm so excited.
Yeah, listen. That's just kind of Tony Khan's thing because the Collision, remember the original Collision, which I think they went back to Saturday Night's All Right for Partying, right? Or the Elton John song.
It wore me down. I remember the first time I heard that too. I was like, huh? And then this one's like, it's so literal.
Tony Khan is so fucking weird because he's not
excited.
Tony Khan's not
excited. Are you guys excited? And so hit play, and it's like, that was 1984 for Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah,
or whatever it was. I'm so excited. It's from 1984. So where he just wants to get older, or that's our wheelhouse. He's like, oh man, I love that song. But it was such a. You've got Beautiful People, Marilyn Manson, or who's doing the Travis Scott is singing. Travis Scott is singing the Raw theme song on Monday, and we have the Pointer Sisters on AEW. That's where
right. Yeah, that's the difference between the two. And then Tony Khan is 42 years old. We're 47, 48, right? So he's a little younger than us. He didn't grow up in that era. We're 8 years older than him or whatever. We didn't grow up in that era. What the fuck is he doing?
That's a grandpa move, Tony Khan.
Really? What? Why would you even I know you shit on it a little bit. I didn't mind that Elton John collision opening.
Neither did I.
That bad.
Neither did I.
Like Saturday Night's all right for fighting. Sounds good. Like, I mean, it's what they're doing. But then to do, I'm so excited. And it makes me think of the scene in Hot Shots Part 2 when they're in the limo. And they're making out in the back, and the limo driver keeps trying to find different ways to watch them, like making out. And that song is playing the "I'm so excited." Like that's great. So I think of that scene every time I hear.
And when did Hot Shots Part 2 come out?
Around that, yeah.
I'm surprised, like Tony Khan's like a reuniting of the cast of Hot Shots Part 2 on Dynamite tonight. I'm so excited.
I want to see Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, Charlie. Just all of them just ridiculous and old. Yeah, so it's like look. We all knew that there were issues for a while or whatever, and they were the shiny new toy when they first launched in 2019. And you'll go back, Dave, when they finally do get off their ass and release the whole library for you on there. Like, you'll start watching some of their 2019, and I mean, the pandemic stuff is going to be whatever it is, and their 2021 shit, and you're going to be like,
lovely.
You're going to be like, what happened? Like, that's what you're going to be like. That's the only negative thing. And what I equate it to is like, I don't know if it was an anniversary. I think it was an anniversary. So they were showing some clips from this Nitro from 1999. It was the New Year's Eve day episode of Monday Nitro, and they chose not to go live. They decided to do a best of Nitro from the 90s because it was turning to the year 2000. Now they were already a dumpster fire at the end of 1999. So all they did during that, and I remember as a fan watching it, being really disappointed with their product in 1999, going into 2000, they did not look any more promising. Like everything looked like shit. And then they're playing stuff from 1996, 1997 from the goddamn Georgia Dome, 1998 when Goldberg in front of 42,000 fans beat, and then they would go back and I'd be like, and the next week, I watched the first, 2000 edition of Nitro, and, they're barely stuffing 3,000 fans in the building. And I'm like, wow. Like, there's a fine line between paying tribute to your past shit and you being in a place right now where it's like, we probably shouldn't show the first All In because we're a long way from that. Like, we're a long way from 80,000 people being in a building or them selling out the Arthur Ashe Stadium 19,000 people for a fucking Dynamite. Like, they don't do that anymore. So it's like, I almost like when you watch it, you're going to be like, what the fuck happened? Like when you start watching, even though they look better, they're in smaller venues now. They look great. Like the venues look great.
They figured it out. It was everything we talked about, Mo. Just go smaller venues. It'll be fine. Get through the hump a little bit. And just for clarity, Hot Shots Part 2 was 1993. So that was 31 years ago. Is that right? Yeah, 31 years ago. So
Tony Khan apparently is just like anything I like during.
My
friends and I made a joke one time. So yeah, Dynamite looks good. You definitely, if you go back and watch all that stuff, they were like this indie darling company when they first started, and now they're figuring out like, oh shit, like we can't rely on New Japan wrestlers year round. We can't rely on all this stuff. But I really hate to say it, but some of those indie acts were indie acts for a reason because they weren't meant to be on network television. They weren't meant to be like the same punchline over and over and over again.
You're meant to travel the circus and do your same shit in another city.
And when you're seen on the same television program every week and you're set up joke. Like every time it's like, okay, like we get that. We get Sonya Kiss does the body oil thing when you put him in a hold.
It's always been the biggest difference. Like, we were talking about it earlier as an example, Jess, like according to several reports, Seth Rollins and CM Punk were unscripted on the last episode of Raw. And it was, I know Craig, you're gonna catch up on that. It was absolute fire. That is the kind of stuff that almost nobody in AEW can do. There are a few guys, like I saw MJF's promo.
MJF's,
on New Year's
I mean,
Day.
he's a star,
genius, just an absolute genius. And there's a few others that can do it, but CM Punk and Seth Rollins are just a handful of what they have. They're not even a title holder right now. They're not even supposedly leading the company and actually going for a title at the moment. And then you got Drew, who's doing amazing things on the mic. You've got Cody, you've got Roman that doesn't have to say anything anymore. It's like the drama is so built and staggered up. And then to your point, you go to the other side. You're never going to have a bad match, Craig, like we talked about in AEW. You get some botches, we know that. But you're almost never going to have a bad match, but you don't have a story to tell for anything. And you don't have mic work to stand with exception of maybe 2 or 3 guys. Even he goes, what do you say? His name is Cope now because you don't want to say
stop
Copeland?
it.
Okay,
when I heard that, I screamed. You want to know what I said?
Yeah.
Right when he came down and then, he did his running around and then he puts his arms up so his fireworks can go up. And then when I didn't read the graphic, I just was listening to what's Justin Roberts, and he was like the rated R superstar Copeland. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And I looked at the graphic and out loud I go, oh no! Like that was my exact just as loud. No! And I was like upset, and I'm like, why? And then he put a social media video out like the next day going, we talked about it. We're like, how do we shorten my name? It's too wordy. I'm like, oh, shut up. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
okay, Vince McMahon.
He's overthinking everything, bro.
And then too many letters.
And then when he say your face looks stupid, I'm like, that's what you're gonna say to. And you were like, poor Cass.
That's an old man just trying to be funny. Like, there's a difference between like. Yes, Edge is probably, or Adam Copeland. Let's just start calling him by his fucking name. It still won't make me happy. So Copeland gets out there. Yes, he gets one of the biggest ovations and biggest pops because he had all that television time invested in him by WWE. So of course he's going to be over, just like Daniel Bryan was. But there's a difference. Like in WCW's dying years, and I'm not saying AEW's in their dying years. Don't mix my words up, people.
I understand.
Because I don't believe they're dying. I'm just saying like to try, because if you do, there are some comparisons. When WCW was dying and they were only putting 2,000 people in the building, like people like Flair and Hogan and all of them were like, we're getting the biggest like responses of the night. Push us. I'm like, but you're not. You're like my grandpa trying to pretend he likes rap music. That's not reinventing anything. That's just you trying to look cool. Like remember when Hogan would come out and wear those baggy like urban pants or whatever for a while? He went through that phase. I'm like, you're a 40 fucking something year old man coming out trying to look like a 20-year-old. Like, what are you doing? Like, what? That makes no sense. Or he'd wear beanies and shit. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you look awful. You look like someone's grandpa going through midlife, like trying to be like, like I could rock this, Like, it makes no sense. That's what, when Edge was like,
tie-dye.
Yeah, when Edge is like, your face looks stupid. I'm like, that's an old person trying to be funny to a young person. Right. That's not like the old person reinventing themselves and then being cool again, like Christian or something like that. Like, it's not that. And or what Toni Storm did, how she completely reinvented herself. Like, that's not that. Changing your fucking name from Adam, Edge to whatever to Cope, you fucking dolt. Like, why would you do that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Any copyrighted Cope, no one will take that, Adam. Let me tell you, no one will touch it. Really? You didn't need to waste the copyright. Like, he's on that.
He's so paranoid about it.
He also copyrighted Legend, but spelled Legend like Edge.
Oh God.
He also
that's better than Cope. And then all that wants me to do is next time I see him at a show, I'm just gonna chant Nope. And I'm gonna get the entire arena to chant Nope as he's coming out and he's announced as Cope, and he will have to retire the gimmick.
Yeah, he says it's wordy. You want to know what's wordy? The rated R superstar. That's wordy. You know, the thing that you've wrestled WWE with to take with you, that is wordy. Like, Adam Copeland wasn't wordy. Like, that's the thing. And if you're so concerned with it, take the out and take superstar out. Because wasn't superstar a Vince word? You're not wrestlers, you're superstars. Like, that's a Vince thing. So just be the rated R Adam Copeland and shorten it and fucking be done with it. Like, and it'll remind us of where you came from, but it's kind of new enough to where we're like, okay, that's a little different or whatever. Don't keep the rated R superstar, which is literally the other place, the name that they gave you, the nickname that they gave you. Don't keep that and then let me shorten. I gotta shorten my last name. I don't know.
Well, he simultaneously tries to break away, but he's also afraid to break away at the same time. Like, it's from everything he's done.
I mean, they all do it. It's okay. Like, even Bryan Danielson, when he first came in, he's like, I'm not doing the yes thing anymore. And then the whole last year he's out there, he's like, yes. Like, I'm like, don't run from it. It's fine. Like, there are some things you're just gonna have to do, but don't fucking come out wearing the same tights. Everything looks the same about you, except you're like, but I'm Cope now. It's like, dude, what the fuck does that do?
And you don't go off of cages anymore.
Yeah, you will not jump off
do that.
Cages. And his hair looks ridiculous. There's just something, the way the mullet he's trying for, it looks like wire, and then it's bushy. Like, and I'm like, just cut your hair short, man. Like, good
this
God.
Makes me so happy because this is how I felt about Edge.
I love Edge. I think he's really talented. Like, and he's good.
I know. I understand. I understand.
What are you doing? I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna say it's.
I feel like this is me talking about Edge 8 years ago. about his past.
Do you see
and
the? I
that's
mean,
terrible.
you know, I'm not asking you guys because I know you know the answer, but the people who are listening, you see the difference. You see what Christian did versus the Cope
right.
was stupid. Your
And
face is stupid.
I
There's a
believe
difference. Like,
Christian was incredibly challenged with lack of TV time and lack of creativity. Not his own creativity.
what are you talking about, Dave? Just because the owner of the company thought he was ugly and didn't want to push him,
right? I mean, he said that. He said it specifically.
didn't
I
slow
don't
him
want to
down
push
at
him.
all.
I think he's ugly. And Cage was held back incessantly because of it. And then you start to see the talent of, and we thought, I mean, I think we knew it years ago with the TNA stuff, but we started to realize who the better wrestler was, who the better overall talent was. And I don't think it was Edge. I just think that Christian was held back, incredibly held back. Way more talented, especially with the promo work.
I think,
Edge
and
is
it's
not bad on the
different, too.
mic.
It's
I'm not
like-
saying that. He's just Edge. I'm just saying that Christian is better.
but
been
they
one of
both
the
have
best
a.
bright
It's a
spots.
difference. Oh, go ahead, Craig. Sorry.
Right.
He's just been one of the best bright spots of AEW in the last year and a half or whatever. Just
He's
that whole
fantastic.
the
But
patriarchy
well, there's a
gimmick, all
difference.
that stuff, like,
There's people that are charismatic, and then there's people that are stoic. And the people that should be stoic that try to be charismatic always shoot themselves in the foot. And Edge is charismatic. Christian always thought he needed to be charismatic because that's what Vince liked. But really, all Christian needed to be was stoic. Just the way he was now. He stands there up straight, like he has a stick up his ass with his fucking turtleneck. He's
good boy.
calm,
He's
and
a
he
good
just
boy.
talks, and this is what I do, and I don't yell, and I'm stoic.
wonderful.
Roman was the same way.
wonderful.
Vince wanted him to be charismatic. Suffer and succotash. And every time he did stuff like that, people were like, you suck. But then when
you know
he
who's
said,
also
I'm
kinda
not
like
going to be
that too is-
charismatic, I'm going to be stoic. And the second, now he has this fucking aura about him, Roman does, and he's stoic and he's quiet. He just puts his hand up when he wants someone to shut up.
Yeah.
And then, that's it. And there's a difference.
Kicks people out of media scrums. It's fantastic. You know, it was also like that too. Is Gunther? Gunther didn't have to get all crazy charismatic. He's very reserved. He's very stoic. He's just, I know I'm the best. There's nothing you can do about it. I am what runs this company right now. And he just talks about it like it's normal. It's just, and he has that shitty smirk on his face. I love everything that Gunther's doing. But to your point, Jess, I don't know if that would have been allowed. 2 or 3 years ago.
I fully
You're not excited enough. You need to put more passion into it. And you're like, no, you don't. You need to show that it doesn't matter. And that's how fans are going to hate you.
I fully
It's so
expect
easy
next
for
week,
me.
whenever we see Cope, I swear to God, he's just going to start. He's going to make a joke, and then he's going to legitly break the wall and look at the camera and be like, I'm still cool, right, guys? And then he's just going to leave. That's what he's going to, I'm fully expecting that to be like,
You need to get off my television.
you need to stop your shit. Just get out there and put young guys over it. And I don't mean by laying and looking at the lights. Like, the match with him and FTR was good. They get along. They have great chemistry. Like, that was a good six-man match. It was really fun. And I mean, if you're going to have 50 titles, I know we're getting off task because we're going to actually record what we think AEW should do in 2025. But it's like they have the tools are there. My comparison, when people say they're WCW 2000, they are not. WCW 2000 was trying to get over people that never had any TV time, like Crowbar, and they were just trying to get them over because that's all they had, because all the other big stars were like, money, and then they would not show up to work. So or Hogan would be like, well, I'm upset, now I gotta go. And so that's what would happen. Or we'd seen them too much. We saw Flair too much. We saw Sting too much. We saw Luger way too much.
They weren't putting over the right young talent, and AEW's definitely.
Yeah, and then when they were forced to, and that's all they had left, we had all of these people that had no television experience, flubbing lines, sucking. They have Bobby Lashley. They have the whole Hurt Syndicate, which they're awesome. They have MVP, great. Bobby Lashley. They have Edge. They have FTR. They have Kenny Omega. They have MJF, who's the best on the mic.
Kenny came back, right? So
yeah, they have Swerve. They have, I'm forgetting a ton of people that they have that they can do this. They have the talent. They have the people there.
Okada's just chilling.
Okada. That's another one. All of a sudden they dusted him off, Craig. We were going to talk about World's End because we skipped last week or whatever. Craig and I watched World's End, and much better than Full Gear. Let me say that. Still not the best pay-per-view that I've seen from AEW this year, but way better than Full Gear. And they had a couple matches that were oh my God, that were just really good.
I'm hoping that library loads on Max soon for those PLEs. And
dude, Ospreay and Fletcher was fucking amazing. That opening match. I know for Dave Meltzer, but Dave Meltzer called it the greatest opening pay-per-view match of all time. I don't think I'm comparing it because there's been so many, you know what I mean? But it was wonderful. It was wow.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was
I don't know how he says that.
When I heard his music, I just leaned over to my wife who doesn't care, and I just went, they're starting with it. and then I tried to explain how.
But it was good.
Probably going to wrestle twice that night, and this is for a tournament final, and it's kind of rare. And then she's like, "I'm going to get a snack," and she got a snack.
The whole Continental Classic tournament.
I'm going to feed the dogs.
And I know not a lot of people watch AEW anymore or whatever, but the whole Continental Classic tournament this year was really good. All of it was good.
Well booked.
All of it was good. It all made sense. Whoever booked it should get a raise. And don't tell me Tony Khan booked it, because there's no way you're going to convince me that he did.
Elevated Ricochet, elevated almost everyone in it. You don't need to win like Mortis did.
Yes.
Good just being in for a lot of
And
these
then
guys,
and the way that they held back Okada, we got Okada and Ospreay in the finals on pay-per-view. Like, and when I was watching it, like Craig and I were texting back and forth, and I was like, I don't know why I'm nervous right now. Like, I'm nervous for them because it's Okada and Ospreay. And so I'm like, okay, how are they going to top the Fletcher match? How are they going to top like anything else? And then like
all their history together. Yeah,
it was smart. Like, I didn't like the way Craig and I were making fun of Ospreay because he way oversold like him being tired still from the opening match. Like, he didn't dry the blood off his face. Like, he sat in the back for 2 hours, like bleeding actively, and then like decided to still walk out. I hate when they do that shit. And all he had on his head was a bandage. So I'm like, you sat back there. If we're supposed to believe in kayfabe, you were bleeding at the end of the last match. You were fatigued. You and his name's Fletcher, right? No, what am I saying? Yeah, Fletcher.
Yeah, Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah, Kyle Fletcher. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you and Fletcher like took each other to the limits. That's the story you told in the first match, and you told it beautifully, and it's awesome. And you're bleeding, and you get to the back, and then you just sit, and no medic people come up to you, and you just sit. And then you're in an athletic locker room, and you don't try to take a shower. You just sit. And then right before you go out there for, oh shit, I'm in the finals with Okada? Give me a bandage. Wrap. And then you go out there, and you have dried blood all over you. And he's staggering like he's drunk, like he's walking down. And Craig was like, don't ruin this. I think your whole text was like, don't ruin this. Like, and I was like, right? Like, and then of course, like, because they are so talented, I forgot about it. So the whole thing is like Okada... Ospreay kept misstepping and botching on purpose. It was clear that he was botching on purpose. Like, he would go for him jumping up on the rope to springboard, and then he would fall, and he'd be like, oh, like he'd shake his head like he's dizzy. And like, so Okada was not moving fast. He was being booked the way I always thought he should be booked. He's bigger than them. He's a tall guy. He's like 6'3".
He's a big dude.
Like, he's way bigger than Ospreay and Ricochet and all them. And he's just stalking him. And he's stomping him. And he's doing a couple high impact moves. And then just laughing. This is your hero. The whole typical American heel doing it. And then the last 8 minutes of the match, they were like, and let's turn the switch on. And they went fucking nuts. For like the last 8 minutes, I was like, oh my God. Like, their footwork, the speed, like everything was just fucking, like I couldn't even breathe. I was like, I need to see a 20-minute match with them going at each other from beginning to end like that or whatever. But I loved it. Like, and then Okada wins, which I was like, meh. Like, I was a little weird about because I thought it should be Ospreay's night because he's the underdog and all that or whatever. But I mean, you're not going to bitch about Okada winning. And he's funnier than shit. And like, he just did the whole middle finger thing. Or when he fought Ricochet earlier in the night, he did a snapmare on Ricochet, and Ricochet sitting like on his butt, like leaning forward, and he bounces off the ropes like a bunch of times, Okada, and like he's going to do a move, and then he stops and slaps the back of his bald head like as hard as he could, and the whole place popped or whatever. Like, Okada is like just on another level.
I don't think people thought Okada had that in him. Like,
I don't even think they know what to do with him. Like, but I'm glad that they built it. And then Omega came out, and then they had the big All In Texas like banner, and the way they shot it, it was those two facing off, and I was like, fuck, they're going to be the main event for All In. Which, if you're going to start hyping it 8 months, 7 months in advance, fucking do it. Like, do it now. Like, because they're going to have trouble selling.
That's another one that you be concerned about because they've put on some burners, man. You could argue that can they redo and outdo what they've done before? I mean, those guys have faced each other endless occasions and just lovely, lovely stuff. So.
I think because now at the end of the Fletcher and Ospreay match, Ospreay's like, we're 1-1 now because Fletcher won a Full Gear in another amazing match. I think they should hold their third match off to All In. Like that, if you're doing that, if you're going to start building it, hold them off. Don't let Ospreay touch the title. Like, let him go out there because him and Fletcher are hot. Like, you can keep them apart for 7 months if you get creative. Like, and you can keep people wanting to see them. You could have tag matches with them. You could do whatever you want. But I would say keep their third match off. So then you have those two like going at it. Then you have Okada and Omega, and then you have still MJF hasn't fit in. Swerve, Bobby Lashley, like
just. Talk about just think about everything you just listed in a breath.
Darby Allin, Darby Allin's still there, who was amazing in the tournament. Like, he's still out there. Like,
gravy.
Adam Perry, fucking Jungle Boy is still out there. Like he's been off TV for a bit. Like, so it's kind of like, I'm like, do you have the chance now to make this a great 7 months? You're streaming, get all your library on there. Never stop talking about it on your programming, by the way. And
Right,
just
Switchblades just hanging around, just doing whatever.
if I'm being dead honest
all
with
this
you,
talent.
them getting 20 to 25,000 people in that stadium is going to be a success. And that
They'll do it.
that place
They
is
should
built,
do it.
That place is built for like 60. Like, so
I really hope the streaming of Max gets them a whole new following, and people will start getting in some bigger venues for them.
you want to cheat.
I will say, Dave, they people just like you were on Reddit saying I watched it for the very first time, or on like.
I was wrong because I was worried.
Saying like,
yeah, I was worried a couple weeks ago that it wasn't going to do what they thought. I mean, if you can get your eyeballs on it, that's awesome. Like, I want those people to watch it, and not believe all they read, because a lot of people didn't watch it because they're like, oh, I hear it sucks. So then they don't go out of their way to watch it. People that have TBS and TNT didn't watch it because they were like, oh, I'm not going to make time on my Wednesday schedule because I hear it sucks. Like, and then now they're watching it because they can stream it anytime, and they're like, oh, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. Like,
it's actually really good. I mean, the talent level is unmatched. I mean, when you think
it's not WWE, and you don't want that. Like, I don't want that. Like, I want AEW to be different. Like, but the whole indie phase has worn off. Like, now you have Darby Allin, you have all the people that are the main pillars. MJF, you have all those people.
Like, I do feel bad that Tony Khan. I'm kind of proud of Tony Khan, because they could have gone like, "Come on, families, it's WWE Part 2," and literally within like an hour and a half, they saw Ricochet stab a dude in the head multiple times and commit attempted murder.
Yeah, he didn't back off.
Families were like, out. All right, but sure, that's not Ricochet. So it's like it's like we are going to be who we're going to be.
If they're going to try to be like a WCW ECW hybrid, I'm here for it. I'm fine with that. Like, but I think Craig has said it many times. You have to know how to market your product. It's one thing to say, well, this is what our product is, but the next question would be, from any marketing director, would be like, how are you going to market it? I don't know. Like, and it's like, well, you need to know.
It's a really good question, Jess. But here's the other dynamic of if you tune in almost any documentary on Max or Netflix, what is the rating? You guys know what the rating is almost every time? MA? It's TV mature. Yeah, it's MA. Everything is TV mature. Yeah. So the audience, in my opinion, is already there. If there are 30, 40, 50-year-old people like us that have all these streaming products and have watched wrestling in the past and want to see what it is today, like, we are the market, and we already have the product in front of us. So I wonder, like to your point, we have to market it in an extremely well fashion to do it well and really to tease it off, and hit that first swing 100 miles. But I mean, it's all right there, and the audience is all right there. And it was the first thing that came up. Like, because I didn't know what to watch. I was just dicking around, and I turned on Max, and it was right there in my face. I was like, perfect, turn that thing on, and let's go. And I'm telling you, to your point, man, it's good product. It's good shit. The matches are really good.
It's not better than WWE. They're missing something.
They're immediately going to know, anyone who goes on to Max that have seen Hard Knocks, that have seen all these sports documentaries. It's
going to show up on their algorithm. Yeah, 100%.
It's going to be serving to men, to males, to wrestlers, to sports fans, to whatever. Love scissors. It's going to be
100%
good for them.
And so many people have Max for the reasons, like they show live basketball, they show live NBA games, they show live
It's
soccer.
going to be where TNT March Madness is going to be on.
It's all that stuff. Like, people already have this product for these reasons, and it's just going to be one more thing that people go, yeah, I watch wrestling, or I watch WWE, or I used to. I want to see what this is about. I've heard about this.
Someone was saying, like,
give it a shot.
Jericho was on Inside the NBA or something, or I think it was one of the College Bowl specials that was on TNT or TBS, and then people on Twitter were like, Chris Jericho's still alive?
Yeah, and then some people
was on like the pregame show or whatever.
And some people were watching him wrestle, and it was not for the first time in a long time. They're like, he still fucking wrestles. He looks terrible. Like, it was not because people had known for
the magic that he had when he came over in 2019
is gone.
He did the New Japan shit with Omega and changed wrestling that way or whatever. It's all gone. There is no let me be fair about this, and I love Jericho. I'm just saying that there is going to be no reinvention. This is it for him. Like, he's never going to be that impactful again to where he could show up in New Japan and challenge Omega and have everyone be like, oh my God, like, I'll get that. Like,
I will say this in a good way. I never thought Jericho would go this long in the profession. And I mean that in the best sense because he has reinvented himself. He's done great things 3-4 times over where I never thought anybody could reinvent.
I surprised myself when I put him on my Mount Rushmore because like I've always liked Jericho. I've always thought like I love he was a cruiserweight that everyone's like you're never going to be anything.
He's deserving of that conversation for sure. And I think the hard part is like there was even a moment where his back was so bad, if not for DDP, you got the number, you scratch it down for me. Where he almost didn't come back, but yoga saved his career and he made another comeback. I mean, he should have never been able to go this long and be this successful. And that's just a credit to Jericho. But it is. It's time, man. It's over.
And I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to talk about or whatever too, but I was watching another video from someone who is watching, like who is streaming AEW, right. And then he was like, "Oh, they don't have a lot of stuff launched yet, but I'm going back and watching some 2019 pay-per-views." And he put on a match with Cody, and he was like, "Look at him, look at Cody!" Like, and he was like doing the voiceover, and anything Cody did, he's like, "Look at you! What are you smiling for?" He's like, "You're gonna go back, you're gonna go back." And then every move that he did is so fucking funny. And then he goes, "Oh, let's go!" And then he put on another one, the very first AEW pay-per-view where remember Triple H had that throne. And then Cody took the sledgehammer and crushed it or whatever. And he was like, what are you going to do with that big hammer? What does a sledgehammer mean? Does that mean Triple H? Like, and the guy was so fucking funny. Made me laugh so hard. He's like, you're going to go back. You're going to go back.
How lovely is that? That's actually money right there.
Yeah, you're going to be going back and watching their 2019 and 2021 product, by the way, and seeing Cody.
Yeah, you can take all of that and voice that over and have fun with that, man. He's onto something. I'm gonna have to find that guy.
And every time Cody turned around, he's like, "What are you smiling at? Quit smiling!" Like he's like, "You're going back. You're going back. You're going 2023. You're going back."
But you think about it now, I kind of laugh because like that is the smile. That's the smile. Like I'm coming back because I'm going to be 10 times better. I'm going to make way more money than I ever did because I left. He did the whole corporate thing. If you want to make more money, you leave and you go to another company.
I don't know
and
why
you get higher money, and then you go back and you
Dave,
get new higher money.
I'm glad people that are figuring it out. But we fucking grew up with that. When you grew up in the 80s with the territories, even the 90s when it was just WCW and WWF, them switching back and forth was fucking healthy. It needed to happen, and like people just. Because wrestling died after Vince bought WCW out, and TNA was so small for a long time. I mean, it's still small now, but I mean, like, it wasn't anything. It wasn't even close to what WCW was. There was no competition until AEW rolled out in 2019. Not saying that it ever had a chance of beating WWE. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying the product sucked, and it was the perfect time for a new company to come aboard. And it reminded you of WCW, and it had Shivani, and it had Sting, and it had everybody else. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, it's so funny how... we grew up with it. So like when people now are like, oh, the momentum's shifting. Oh, and they're talking about it like it's something that just started happening in wrestling. I was like, what are you talking about? Like that was the whole thing that was missing from 2001 all the way to like 2019 was a second American company that had a network deal that had almost as many as the same capability of eyeballs that could be watching it, like the same households that are available. And like we didn't have that since 2001. Like, it's so, when people now were just like, oh, traitor, I'm like, what do you fucking, like, what, we needed Rick Rude to jump. We needed, like, people to jump back and forth because it freshened us. And then when they came back, it was like we were seeing them for the first time all over again. But they were only gone for 2 years in WCW or vice versa. Right. Flair for like 2 years went over and then he went back to WCW. And it was a different Flair. Like it was somebody that we were like,
seeing the Brainbusters jump and jump back, that might have gotten people to start watching
I don't know if it's the grain, it's the grain of their television or whatever, but we would always make comments. Like the first time, remember on WCW television, whatever film they used for their television, because like every product has a look. Like, does that make sense?
Right.
Like, seeing Hulk Hogan on a live WCW show for the first time, I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Like,
it was so different.
To see him, like, in that, not on the WWE lens, not on a WWE production, was the weirdest fucking thing I'd ever seen. Even when Flair came over to WWF, I was like, what are we doing? Like,
he looked different in the
lighting. They all looked different. Savage, when he went over to WCW, I'm like, they look different. Like, it's weird. And, like, that's what we're doing now. And so, God, yes, we need AEW.
The weirdest thing was whenever you went to WCW, guys always looked bigger when they left They always look bigger to me.
Yeah, they did.
Because
Well,
everybody
yeah.
was a lot of it was smaller in WCW for the
And
most
what
part,
I loved
except for
about
a few guys.
WCW, it's what you can do in AEW, is they got stiffer. Like Rude was stiffer, and like there wasn't in WCW, they didn't have too many cowardly heels because they wanted their heels to be like legit. Vince was all you need to beg off, you need to cower, you need your heel, unless you're Bundy or Andre or whatever. Like but like with
like a double
Rude,
J heel,
yeah,
perfect
with
heel,
Rude, it was like when he went over to WCW, like he would squash prelims sometimes, like squash them. And I was just like, he never did that in WWF. Like, he always had to parade around like a heel and do his thing. And you could tell Vince was like, no, you're a coward. So when the good guy faces you off, you back away. Like, but in WCW, Rude was like going back and forth with people and like cutting good guys off and killing their momentum. And I'm like, what? Like, that's crazy. You never saw
Rude's
that.
best time was WCW. It wasn't even close.
I
He had
to this
great
day,
times.
I'll defend that. I'll be like, Rude
Yeah.
had his best times in WCW to me. His best matches, everything.
I do have one thing to bring it back, and I don't know if I want to tie it here or not, but I had to ask Craig because you watch AEW, I think probably more than most of it, definitely more than me, and just probably keeps up with you. But what do you think of Toni Storm going back? I felt that character she built for years, I didn't think it was done.
She's going back to Timeless. She's got amnesia. That's her whole thing now. She's like.
Is that what it is?
Yes. Like they haven't said that she has amnesia, but she forgot, like, so she's going up to everybody in the back and she's like, I don't mean to interrupt. Thunder Rosa, it is a pleasure to meet you. Like she's meeting everybody for the first time. I'm Toni Storm. I'm cutting my teeth here.
Like she's
Okay, I'm
debuting
catching up.
She's debuting like in her first gimmick when she was like grateful to be there and everything.
Yes.
People, Dave Meltzer and them were losing their mind when she came back as Toni Storm. Her re-debut match wasn't on Dynamite, wasn't on Collision. It was on fucking Rampage. And she asked for that. So she's like, I got to fight my way up. I'm going to start at Rampage and I'm going to win my match there. And then I was like, listen, like they were getting so mad. They were like, why the fuck would you do that? Wasting her. I was like, good God. Like, I was like, you don't understand.
They totally got roped. As I did. I didn't see the whole thing, but I'm catching up.
She's going to come back as Timeless Toni Storm. It's going to happen.
That is lovely.
She's finally going to get Mariah May where she wants her, and then she's going to do it. It's going to be great.
So she asked for the most off-brand place to
the beginning, like she's starting all over again.
She's starting at the beginning, so she's starting it at Rampage, and everyone's like, "Why would you?"
Who understands who they are and what they are and what they're capable of more right now than Toni Storm? I can only think of like a few guys in WWE that do. I mean, Punk knows.
If you need any guidance in that company, there would be two people you need to watch. And if you have any questions about how to reinvent yourself, Toni Storm and Christian, look at what they've done.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what, and even Jericho in the beginning, like, because Jericho was a pain maker and then he was like all the other things. Like, so look at what they've done and how simple adjustments they make, but they recommit. They understand the old me is gone. I'm going to commit myself to this character and rebuild. I'm still Chris Jericho. I'm still Toni Storm. I'm still Christian. They're not changing their name, like Cope, like, and like, but they're not doing that stupid shit. Like,
sorry.
My new name is not Christian. It's
Chris.
It's Chris. Fucking stupid.
It's
and you look the same. But they change everything about them. Like I said earlier, Christian walks different. Yeah. Christian walks different. Like Toni Storm was completely different as Timeless. Like watch those two. If you're struggling, there's not as much direction here as there is in WWE. Make your own, dumb fuck. Watch them. Like look at what they did. Like look at MJF. Like look at what they're doing. Like they get into what they're doing.
I almost hesitated bringing up Toni Storm because we were talking about such great things from the past, and I didn't know how that was going to tie in. And now that I know what you knew, Jess, I am so excited that
I fully expect to say my Woman Wrestler of the Year in 2025 is Toni Storm. Let's just put it that way. I fully expect her to reclaim her throne. Like, what was her?
What was she? Was she Wrestler of the Year Women's 2 years ago? Because it was it was this year, right? She won.
Well, I gave her Women's Wrestler of the Year for 23 because she started the Timeless. She's been doing the Timeless for like a year now.
For a while, so she was in 23. Yeah. So who was it in 24? I'm trying to remember.
Liv.
It wasn't
Liv.
It was Liv.
Yeah, I gave her Liv. Yeah.
Oh, we did, but I was wrong.
Yeah,
what did PWI rank?
I don't think it comes out until January, February, right, Craig? That magazine. It's always like a week or a month later. I don't think that the year-end awards come out yet. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it comes out this month.
Maybe I was thinking of the mid-year awards that they put out because they put them out somewhere like August, September. We looked at it.
Yeah, I think I think it's actually coming out this month. I think the year-end awards.
Oh,
they probably will give it to Liv if they allow them to pick up the stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's good.
Yeah,
I
I can't wait
mean,
to see all
wrestling's healthy. The Netflix thing has me excited. Like, just
the streaming alone.
now we're all
streaming, the Mac
hypersensitive
stuff,
to
oh
it
my
changing
gosh.
patterns. We're like, how could Peacock let Raw go? Like, and it's going to be like this fight between networks or streaming platforms. Going to be great. Like, I mean, to your point, Craig, like, I'm glad you're reading that people watch it for the first time. Like, the more wrestling you can consume, the better. Like, it gives you a different, like, I went through an NWA kick for like a year and a half there where I was watching NWA all the time. Like, just because I was like, this is fun. Like, I really like this. Like, I really enjoy, like, different products.
I've been excited about wrestling for the past couple of years because of we call it the Triple H era now. And then, like I said, I know AEW's fallen off a little bit, but this is the most excited I've been about wrestling in probably 3 or 4 years, and that includes all the great stuff that we saw with WWE. This is adding to it because I'm able to watch stuff live again, and that to me is incredibly exciting. I can get back in the mix and kind of be like, hey, I don't have to watch it the next day anymore.
Well, then once they put the fucking
so
library on Max, we can start reviewing some of the old AEW stuff from 2019 or whatever, the pay-per-views and all that. Like,
that'll be great, and it'll bring in a whole nother audience. So, man, love it. I'm really
2025, guys. Welcome to 2025.
Fucking Cope.
Yeah, man. See the matches. Cope. And stop.
Dave, we're unscripted, yeah. I said we're unscripted, yeah. And now it's primo